Welcome to Procedureflow's Art of the Flow series. This short video explains how to merge changes and resolve conflicts in Procedureflow. Organizations may have an entry point where multiple contributors could be working on updates to flows at the same time. So it's inevitable that updates will be approved and published for some change requests, while other change requests are still being worked on. When this occurs, the live version of the flows changes, and the change requests that are still being worked on become out of sync with the live version. To address the out of sync situations, Procedureflow has some ways to handle these scenarios, which include merging changes from live into open change requests and identifying where conflicts occur for specific flows. The first important concept to understand is that conflicts happen when the same flow is being modified in two or more change requests at the same time. So to prevent conflicts, it is important to always review the change requests that are open to assure that someone else has not already begun working on or submitted a change to the same flow where you plan to make your update. To do this, click Draft in the top menu bar and Procedureflow will take you to the Change Request page. The Change Request page provides an overview of all the change requests in the entry point. When checking to see what change requests are open, you can see them by assignee, which shows who the change request is assigned to, or by state, which means the status of the change request. The ones that are of interest for this exercise are those that are in an open state. If you would like to review the details of a specific change request to see what changes are included in it, simply click the name hyperlink, and Procedureflow will open the change request container. Once in the container, you can go to the Changes tab to see the list of all the flows that are included in this change request. If a change request is approved and published during the time you are working on an open change request, you may be presented with a message asking you to merge your changes with the live version. This simply means that another change request has been published in this entry point after you've created the one you're working on, and those changes are now in the live version. In other words, the live version has changed since you created your change request. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that both change requests include the same flow. In this case, it's okay to click on Merge New Changes from Live to put your change request in sync with the live version. You will now be shown a side-by-side view of what's going to get merged into your change request. If there are multiple flows, you can review the changes in each flow by clicking on the flow names to the left. To confirm the merge and continue editing your change request, click the green Merge into this change request button at the top left of the screen. You now have the choice to continue editing your change request or submit it for approval. It is possible, however, after you merge your changes and return to the change request container, you may be presented with a message advising that conflicts are preventing your change request from being approved and published. This means that another change request, which included one or more of the same flows that is in your change request, has been created, submitted, approved, and published during the time that you have been working on your own new version. If this happens, it is important to understand that you need to stop and analyze the situation before continuing. Never immediately discard your change request because you will lose all your work. To resolve this, you will inevitably have to discard the draft of the flow that is causing the conflict, but this doesn't necessarily mean you will lose everything. Go to the Changes tab and have a look at the left margin. The flows that are causing the conflict will have a red exclamation mark beside them. These are the flows that you need to focus on. Have a look at them and analyze the changes that you have made. Compare them to the new live version on the left. Perhaps someone made the same change you wanted to and simply submitted it before you did. In that case, you may simply want to discard your change request. On the other hand, your changes may include several new shapes on multiple flows that need to be included in the live version, and you'd hate to lose all the work you've done because it took quite a bit of time. Or finally, your change may be something very small that will only take a few minutes to recreate. In the case that your change is very small and it's something you can recreate quickly, you may want to take a quick screenshot of your changes so as not to forget what was in it. Next, make sure the correct flow in question is selected. Then click the ellipses on the right side, then Discard Change. You will be presented with a warning that your changes will be discarded, and then you will need to confirm it. If you have other flows in your change request, you will still see them on the left margin of the Changes tab, but you'll notice the flow that was in conflict is now no longer part of your change request. Click to the Flows tab and navigate to the flow that you discarded from your change request. Click the Edit Flow button to access the editing canvas and redo the change that you originally had in this flow as part of your change request. If needed, you can refer to your screenshot if you captured one. Click Save and exit the editing canvas. Now, click to the Changes tab once again. You'll see that the changes to all your flows are included in the change request, including the changes to the original flow where you had a conflict. But you'll notice this time, there's no exclamation mark indicating a conflict. This is because by discarding the original changes and redoing them, we have essentially reverted to making the changes to the current live version of the flows. The conflict was originally generated because our change was made from a previous version. The live version changed while we were out working on our update. So we have essentially reset the date and timestamp on the edit associated with this flow so that it's in sync with the live flows. If there are other flows in conflict, you'll need to do the same analysis for each one before submitting your changes. In the case that the changes in your change request for a particular flow are extensive and would involve a lot of rework, there is a second option. Don't discard your changes. The process to work around the conflict involves placing a copy of the flow in question in a different temporary location as a placeholder in order to resolve the conflict. First, in the Changes tab, click to the flow that is causing the conflict and make a note of what is different in the live version of the flow that you may wish to include as part of the final version. Since you or someone else recently updated it, the live version will be different than what you have in your change request. If needed, take a screenshot so you'll have a visual of what you want to carry over into your final version of this flow. Now from the Flows tab, go to the editing canvas for the flow that is causing the conflict. Use Ctrl-A to select everything on the canvas, then right-click and select Move into New Flow. We are creating this new flow temporarily, so give it a unique name that you can easily recognize and click Move. After clicking the Move button, you will see the notification indicating we have created a new flow. You will also notice that all the shapes from your flow have disappeared, and the only shape remaining is the link to the temporary flow you just created. So to summarize, a copy of the flow that had the conflict is now in a temporary placeholder location. Click Save and exit the editing canvas. In the Changes tab, you will notice your new temporary flow is now part of your change request, and you will still have the message indicating you have a conflict. Now in the left margin, click back to the flow that has the conflict. Since you've placed a copy of this entire flow elsewhere, you can now discard the changes in this flow in order to resolve the conflict. Click the ellipsis, then Discard Change on the right side of the screen to discard only the changes to this flow without impacting the other flows that are part of your change request. Confirm the discard by clicking Discard one more time in the dialog box that appears. Next, we'll make sure we have all the shapes in the temporary flow saved to our clipboard. Click to the Flows tab, navigate to the temporary flow that you just created. You will likely need to search for it using the Jump to Flows search field. Open the editing canvas and select all by using Ctrl-A again, then Ctrl-C to copy the entire flow. We will come back to this flow and discard it later, but right now we will go to the flow where this content should live. Exit the editing canvas and locate the original flow that you want to update. Hop back into the editing canvas, select everything. Delete the entire flow using your Delete key or by right-clicking on a shape and clicking Delete. Then paste the content from your clipboard onto the canvas and reposition the shapes if necessary. Now, if there are any additional changes that were in the live version of the flow that need to be included in your final version, it's time to integrate them. Once you are happy with the way this flow looks, click Save and exit the editing canvas. In the Changes tab, you will now notice that there is no longer a conflict on the flow you just edited. The last step we need to take is to delete our temporary placeholder flow. Click on it in the left margin, click the ellipsis, then Discard on the right-hand side of the screen, and confirm the discard. That's it. You've just gone through the different processes needed to merge changes and resolve conflicts. You can now submit your change request for approval and publishing. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the other videos in the Art of the Flow series.